since last October, my life has been a twisted descent into a nightmare. It all began on a seemingly ordinary morning when I slipped on my favorite sneakers. The chill in the air felt invigorating, but as I pulled them on, I felt something squishy inside. At first, I shrugged it off as a gum wrapper or some forgotten snack, but when I reached in to pull it out, my heart sank. A severed finger lay curled up in my shoe, cold and still, its ragged edges, where it had been torn from its hand, grotesque against the bright fabric of my sneaker. I dropped it in horror, my stomach lurching as I staggered back. The bell rang for school, echoing ominously in my ears, but I was frozen in place, trapped in a whirlwind of confusion and dread. The rest of the day was a blur. I barely registered my classes, my friends' voices fading into a dull hum as I replayed the morning's events over and over in my head. They noticed my pallor and asked if I was okay, but I waved them off, muttering something about being tired. I couldn't shake the image of that finger, the way it seemed to be pointing at me, accusing me of something I didn't understand. As I lay in bed that night, the shadows of my room twisted and turned, morphing into dark figures that danced on the walls. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, the effects of a horror movie binge, but the whispers seeped into my mind, muffled voices calling my name, mocking my fear. I drifted into an uneasy sleep, only to wake up sweating and breathless. In the days that followed, it became a routine. I would find severed fingers in my shoes 1, 2, 3. Each time they grew more decayed, the flesh rotting, the stench invading my senses. Panic clawed at me. How could this be happening? I locked my shoes away, desperate to escape whatever this was. But it didn't matter. They still appeared, sometimes in my backpack, sometimes tucked under my bed. Every encounter heightened my anxiety. I started avoiding school, fearing what I might find. My friends grew concerned, trying to coax me out of my self-imposed isolation. "Dude, you're being weird. Just come out," Tyler said one day, but I couldn't explain. I felt like I was spiraling, and every day passed in a haze of dread. One night I gathered the courage to confront the darkness head-on. I sat cross-legged in my room, the dim light flickering from my bedside lamp. I reached for my phone, searching for answers online. There had to be a reason for this. Psychological phenomenon, I typed into the search bar, but all I found were pages about anxiety disorders and paranoia. As I scrolled through the results, my heart raced when I stumbled upon a forum discussing urban legends and strange occurrences in small towns. One post caught my eye, the legend of the severed fingers. It detailed an old tale about a boy who had angered a witch in a neighboring town. She cursed him to find severed fingers in his belongings, a warning to heed the darkness or risk facing something worse. The thread was filled with stories of others who had faced similar fates, their experiences chillingly similar to mine. I dropped my phone, the sound echoing in the stillness of my room. It couldn't be real, could it? I'd never done anything to deserve this. I hadn't wronged anyone, hadn't crossed any boundaries. But the truth was undeniable. I was trapped in a horror story that felt far too real. My world continued to shrink as I withdrew further into myself. I rarely left my room, terrified to step outside. My once vibrant friends turned into concerned faces peering through the cracks of my door. "Ethan, please. We're worried about you," I heard Jenna call, but their voices felt like whispers from another world, far removed from the prison I had built. Weeks turned into a month, and with each passing day, I could feel the grip of dread tightening. On one particularly sleepless night, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers, a way to escape this nightmare. I ventured to the town library, seeking any lore or history that might explain my torment. The musty smell of old books filled the air as I pored over dusty volumes. Hours slipped by, my fingers racing over the pages, until I finally found a reference to a witch who had lived in Oakwood centuries ago, known for her ability to curse those who crossed her. The locals believed she could snatch the fingers from the hands of the living, leaving them as macabre reminders. My heart raced. This wasn't just a story, it was a warning. I realized I had to confront whatever darkness was haunting me. I decided to return to the forest at the edge of town where the witch was said to have performed her rituals. As I stepped into the thick woods, shadows danced between the trees, and the wind whispered secrets I couldn't comprehend. The ground was damp beneath my feet, the air heavy with an unsettling silence. I pressed on, driven by a mixture of fear and determination, until I stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood a gnarled tree, its branches twisted like skeletal fingers reaching toward the sky. I felt a chill race down my spine as I approached, memories of the severed fingers flooding my mind. With trembling hands, I dug into my backpack, retrieving a small offering, a piece of silver jewelry I had inherited from my grandmother. "If you're out there," I called, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to disturb you. I just want to be free." Silence enveloped me, but I felt a presence, something watching from the shadows. My heart thundered in my chest as I waited, the air growing thick with tension. Suddenly the wind howled, and the ground trembled beneath me. I stumbled back, panic rising. Then, out of the shadows, a figure emerged, a woman cloaked in darkness, her face obscured by a veil. "You seek freedom, boy," she rasped, her voice echoing like a distant bell. "Yes. Please, I didn't mean to intrude," I cried out, desperate for her understanding. "I just want the fingers to stop." The witch's laughter sliced through the air like ice. "You disturb the balance of the dead and the living. Their screams echo in your mind. You are marked until you learn to respect the boundaries." Fear gripped me, but I stood my ground. What can I do? How can I make this right? Her eyes flickered with something dark as she stepped closer, and I could see the decay creeping at the edges of her form. "You must offer what you cherish most, something to show your commitment to the balance. Only then will the curse lift." I knew what I had to do. I took a deep breath, trembling as I reached for the necklace, the last remnant of my grandmother's love. "Take it," I said, my voice trembling. "Just make it stop." With a wave of her hand, the witch accepted the offering, her fingers brushing against the silver with a gentleness that contrasted her twisted form. "You will not see the fingers again, but remember this moment. Respect the past, and the living will spare you their wrath." As she faded into the darkness, the oppressive weight lifted, and I felt a rush of relief wash over me. I turned to leave, glancing back one last time, only to find the clearing empty, the air still and quiet. In the weeks that followed, the fingers ceased to appear. I returned to school, my friends welcoming me back with open arms. Life resumed its pace, and I was grateful for every moment. But I would never forget that chilling encounter. The witch's warning lingered in my mind like a shadow, a reminder to always tread carefully among the echoes of the past. As October approached once more, I felt a chill in the air, a whisper of something lurking just beyond my awareness. I couldn't shake the feeling that the witch was still watching, waiting for me to falter, to forget the respect that had saved me. But for now I was free, and I intended to keep it that way, until the day I might hear the whispers again.